Welcome back to Unified Reality. On today's episode, Innovating Through Product Design, Insights from Johan Adda. Lots of good things on this episode. Tech, AI, Apple, WhatsApp, products, designing, UI, UX. Welcome to Unified Reality, Johan. How are you?
I'm very good, and you?
I'm very, very good. I'm happy to have you here. We connected through some third friends that we have. I know you're right now in Quebec at Shawinigan. How is Quebec? How do you like the weather in Quebec?
So first, thanks for having me. It's a real pleasure. I love the place. It's good vibes. Quebec is always like probably my favorite region in the world. Because when you arrive here, you can both speak French and English.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And the weather is hotter than where I live in France. And I have a little anecdote. So first time they said, you go to Shawinigan. So it took me like 10 times to say it perfectly, Shawinigan.
You said it right.
Yeah, now, of course, after a week, come on. And then I look at Apple Map, and I was like, where the heck is Shawinigan? So I found it, and then I zoom out, and I was like, oh, there's a little forest on the left-hand side of Shawinigan. And I zoom out, and zoom out, and zoom out, and I'm like, shit, this forest is the size of Europe. Welcome to Canada.
Welcome to Canada, yes. Shawinigan is what, like 2-3 hours car? Yeah. And it was founded, I think, because there's a big electricity dam. And yeah, so I went there when I was a kid as a historical tour. So Shawinigan is nice. Quebec is nice. France is nice too. Which region of France are you from?
I'm above Bordeaux.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's on the beach.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So let's jump right into it, my friend. I know that you have a beautiful journey. You're an expert in what you do. Tell us a bit more about you, like product design. What inspired you to become a product designer as a kid or when you were growing up?
So I didn't know that until I was probably 15 years old, but it started when I was 7. And I was scribbling, I was just drawing some stuff. My mom, who made a very famous art school in Paris, very, very good, Les Beaux-Arts de Paris. And so she took my drawings and made the drawings for Hermès, the luxury brand. And so I started to design at 7 years old.
So you were a Hermes designer at 7 years old. My friend, I didn't know that we had a superstar amongst us.
So I asked later to my mom to show me what was the Hermès square. And I do remember it was cool. It was in the hippie style stuff, but also it's cool. So then quickly, I had the chance to have my mom teaching me art, history of art, a lot of drawings, a lot of cool stuff. So it's like musician parents, and it's easier. So I think I started designing when I was probably 12, 14. I was also a hacker because I had a bad bill doing internet stuff. Yeah, so I hacked the stuff. It was a really long time ago. And then I built my own studio when I was 21. And because we were two, a geek guy and a designer guy. And I never did anything. Like I was doing some stuff on Photoshop, but I was really bad, really bad. And then went to a friend of mine and said, hey, could I borrow one of the space in your beautiful building? And he said, no. Oh, come on. We're starting. No, I don't have room for you. But what if you come from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. because it's free?
Well, yeah.
Came back to my co-founder. I said, I got good news and the bad news. Start with the bad news. No. I really want to start with the good news. We have an office. oh man, where? In central Paris, superb address. And my co-founder was like, wow, that's so cool. What is the bad news? 8 p.m., 8 a.m. So we brainstormed on that, and we decided to target the Parisian agencies who were working late and they were in the rush. So they called us, sent us a courier, like a motorbike guy, and then we started from 8 p.m., deliver at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m., and go to sleep.
It's amazing.
And we charge 3 times because
it's nighttime, it's rush. So what was the main things you were doing? Just graphic design?
We were doing digital design. That was the very, very beginning of Express, Adobe, etc.
So Photoshop, I guess, Lightroom.
Yeah.
Were you also like retouching pictures?
Everything. So you learn by practicing. The first time.
It's beautiful.
And it was fun. It was really fun because everybody in Paris wanted to do that. But we were like 5 to do that, and we didn't know how to make it. So basically, I had a relationship with Adobe, and we had engineers from Adobe teaching us how to deal with the RAM, etc. And then we were like, oh, yeah, cool. They gave me Photoshop for free for many years.
That's super good, man. I mean, that's impressive, to be honest with you. And so, like, did you have the right computer at first? Because I remember first time I had Photoshop, I was like maybe 12, 13. It took like 1 hour to open.
Yeah.
So I read all the names, remember all? So I knew all the names. I'm like, yes, it opened faster this time.
Yes, we had like shitty computer.
Yeah.
I remember moving like a big, I don't know, 600 megabyte image, and it took like 4 hours.
It's crazy.
Right.
Now it's like
instant.
So that's when your entrepreneurship started, right?
Yes.
So as a young man,
Yes.
So did you go to school and after school? So self-taught by your own, and you decided to open this agency from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. That's beautiful. Now, I know you've done so much more. So what happened there? How many years did you have your agency? Do you still have the agency?
No.
What did it shift to?
I panicked after a couple of years because we were 16. I wasn't prepared to have so many.
But still, so you grew from 2 to 16 in how many years?
A year or two.
And you were a young man, so it's pretty impressive.
It is, but I wasn't ready for that. So basically what I was thinking is I really want to investigate in high tech. So every time there was a new things like internet was like really cool. And then we were like, oh, let's do some cool stuff. So I went freelance. I did like some very famous websites in France, like very, very good, very big, just because we were naive and very lucky too. So we were competing against like big agency with like, I remember one for Renault, the car manufacturer, and we were 2 guys backed by a lot of engineers. So there was whatever is the name of that stuff, but they were the engineers and we were the front guys. 30 people in the room, Renault, we were the 4th agency to come. And
how old were you when you pitched this?
I don't know, like 30, and
that's still pretty impressive because you got it.
So it was a 13 million euro budget, and we were sure that it won't work. So we worked until 2 in the morning on Macromedia directors.
Oh, Macromedia.
Macromedia. And of course, the demo crashed at 4 in the morning. Of course, merci.
Of course,
Macromedia. Yeah, you could do cool stuff. So we finished at 8:30. The pitch was at 9:30. So we just arrived, and we didn't.
You didn't sleep.
No, we didn't sleep. And a lot of coffee. And then you press the button. You do the pitch. Of course, you're so naked, you're so exhausted, but the adrenaline pump, and you're like, and I did a lot of mistakes. I made a joke about their browser, saying like, where internet, what was it?
Explorer?
Like, Internet Explorer, don't use that. everybody at Renault was using Internet Explorer, so all the crowd was a nice one. And we did it. And after a few weeks, they said, wow, you're crazy, guys. You're so naive. Let's do it. 13 million budget. And you're like,
it's like we did it. Danny, that's beautiful, man. Like you feel good after coming out. Like after, not after the meeting, you're like anxious, but after when they say yes,
yeah, it's cool.
4 a.m, it was worth it. That's such a good story. And but then you started work. You also shifted to working for big brands. Like I know you worked for Apple, for WhatsApp. Tell us a bit more about that. Like, what were some of the key highlights and challenges in your career, especially with, like, let's say Apple Pay and WhatsApp?
So it's a short story because I was working at Orange, the French, the European telco. And we were trying to figure out how to make web experience on the iPhone. It was the release of the iPhone. Nobody believed at Orange that the iPhone will be a massive success. We were like probably 5 guys, tech guys, that we were like, oh, no, come on. This is a very, very good user experience. The UI is fantastic. I believed it instantly. And then I met some R&D guys at Orange who were absolutely mad. They were crazy. They were doing stuff that I never seen in my life. So my job was to, with them, build a finished product because R&D is R&D. It's super cool, but it doesn't work for millions of users. So my job was to translate that. And every time we did some cool stuff, I had like a contact at Apple and I say, hey, look at what we're doing. And every time there was a, whoa, that's cool, whoa. And one day I received an email and saying, do you want to change the world? And my first impression was like, no, nobody, I don't want to change the world. So I scrolled and I was like, wow, okay. At the end of the email, there was a beautiful Apple logo. And I was like, yeah, let me reconsider that. Fast forward, I was in Paris. They hired me to go to London. I spent 5 years there. We worked on many products. One of the toughest one was applying Apple Pay in London. So it was really, really interesting. I have a lot of story about that. And I met a lot of cool people. And the imposter syndrome, yes. Man, this is like, you're the dumbest person in the room, you know that.
Well, I like to be in those rooms, to be honest, because you learn so much.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful, man. Like, I'd love to be in one of those rooms with Apple. Like, do you know Bertrand Neveu? Did you meet him? He worked on the, he had his own headset, augmented reality headset.
He sold it to Apple.
Yeah, he sold it to Apple. So
I want to
definitely.
Yeah.
We'll connect. And so also him too. And I imagine and I know a lot of other people at Apple too, the ex-Apples, man. Those must be like crazy experiences. You're in that room and like, oh, we're releasing Siri. Like, oh, okay. So do you know Scobelizer? Robert Scoble? So
yeah.
He always tells that story. And I'm like, man, these are like crazy stories because it's like in history. You know, it's like marked in history. All right, let's kind of go to, well, tell us a bit more about WhatsApp too. So wait, let me recap it. You're at Orange, you're trying to make a website. Was the website for Orange or was it for a brand?
No, for Orange.
For Orange's own website. So now you want to make a website for the iPhone. Eventually, iOS and Apple contact you because you keep showing them and then you get to work there. Now tell us a bit more when you were working there. So Apple Pay in London, what were the difficulties?
So first, I work on the IAD team. Just to remember, it was those little banners on the apps that we give money back to the developers to show the ads. It was very fantastic. When we worked on Apple Pay, the problem was the American people came and say, oh, we have this feature. You charge your phone, there's the card, you touch a device, and then you pay. And in London, we had that already. We had the card, we had not on the phone, but we could tap the cap. So it was easy for us to adapt, to let the people adopt Apple Pay. The problem was, and it was a beautiful problem for a designer, is like the boss of the tube, the London tube, came to us and said, "Guys, I got a problem. The fraction of a second, I think it was like 4 or 5 seconds, in the queue to pass the transaction, slow down the flow of millions of users. So you're slowing my flow, and I have millions of users every day, in the morning, in the evening. So do something." We're like, wow. So in terms of software, you couldn't make it faster because it was already faster. So you look at outside the box and you're like, okay, what is the problem? Because the people don't know that they can arm Apple Pay 3 or 4, 10 seconds before going, because there's it stays on the screen. Now we know that. Mm-hmm. But at that time, nobody knew that. So you come back to Apple and say, okay, I think I got a solution. We need to educate people to pre-arm Apple Pay and then go into Cyberflow and then pass inside the tube. So that was it. That was just like that solution. And then, of course, they did a lot of advertising, educating people, blah, blah, blah. But you have to be in the shoes of the users, because technically we were almost perfect.
Yeah, it's really good. And I want to pick your brain a little bit more about the same thing, but in America. So us too, in Canada, we had the tap way before the Americans. So I would tap here, but when I would go down south, you can't tap. It's like, oh, put your PIN number. In some places, you still have to sign.
Right.
So now there is tap everywhere. I imagine over there in the US must have been so hard to bring Apple Pay, because you also had to teach the tap, right? Because they didn't even know about the tap.
Yeah.
So it must have been another challenge there. So what was your favorite part in all of this, working at Apple? Was it this challenge of understanding the user experience?
I think that you're surrounded by like beautiful people, very talented. Definitely, I remember this guy in London, and I asked him, "What do you do?" "I'm a typographer." "Oh, cool. Wow." I loved the typography, and I was like, wow, that's cool. "Yeah, I'm working on Apple Map. I got a little problem because it has to be legible." And I'm like, I would love to hear more about that. No, you don't have the credential for you to talk with me. I was like, what? Okay. Okay. What I really enjoy was that kind of secrecy that is super positive, because then you protect the product or the innovation. On the other hand, you don't chat about a new feature at the coffee machine.
Yeah.
It never happened. And I have a little story about that. So my boss and the boss of my boss didn't know that we were working on a product. So we have a website, and when you're in the room, you check all the names, and they have to be green, so you can talk. If there's a red, that person needs to get out of the room, because he doesn't have the credential.
That's crazy. And I've heard of this before, and this is Apple's way of doing, right? Like they set it up like this.
Yes. Second things that I really enjoyed, because it was for me a massive switch in my product design making. Orange and like 99% of the companies do user test before launching a product. So when I arrived, I said, "Do you have like the records of all the user tests?" And they laughed, and they at me, and they said like, "We don't do user tests." And I was like, "What? Sorry? What?
What do you mean?
Yeah,
are you crazy?
All the products you have, you don't." No. But okay. And then suddenly you're like, okay, everything I've learned how to make a product is based on user test, on feedback, on before launching. So how the heck you do that. And they said a beautiful thing. They said, like, we listened very carefully after. I was like, okay, but how do you make product if you don't test it? Because we have the best people around the table. We know what to do. Fuck. Okay.
It's crazy.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're like, and someone once said to me, you know what to do. Yes.
It's true though, but when you really think about it, right? And maybe we don't think of it when we're 20, but now I think both of us can say, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. Do I really need all this market research? Yes, it could help me, but deep down I kind of know what to do. And I think that confidence, right, brings it. It's like, I know what to do. We're going to do it like this, like this, like this. And if someone asks why, well, first, why am I in the room if you're going to ask why? Because I shouldn't be in the room if you don't believe in what I'm saying, right? Like those check marks. But second, if you ask me why, I could explain everything why. I really appreciate that, man. That's
Nobody asks why.
Yeah, because we all know why.
Yeah.
Like if we're in the room, we don't need to explain why. Like this is what we're doing.
In 2016, there was a team coming to me and they said, we want to redesign the WWDC 16, I think. And they said, like, we're going to brainstorm and redesign the entire Moscone Center stuff. And so we were around the table just speaking of stuff. And I said, this is the dev maker. It's for the dev.
Yes.
And all the designer around me, I ask, have you used Xcode? No, we're designers, we're no coder. Okay, let me show you Xcode. And I went on black on dark stuff or whatever, and I showed that if you code, you have a set of colors. Like coding is based also on colors, errors, etc. And we were having fun with that. We were like, oh, colors. And I say, what if we use the Xcode color language and we create the WWDC brand for this year? And everybody around the table is like, well, okay, let's try. And then it's where the Apple machine start to work. So you throw the idea, you pilot a little bit the beginning, because at a point you pass the baton, the relay, to another team who's doing all the copywriting, and they are brilliant people. And then you go to the WWDC and you look all around and say, that's a huge team. It's probably 200 people who work on the design of that. But I was there. I was at the very beginning, and it was so cool to see the birth of a group idea to the making. And it was, for many years, one of the most loved design WWDC.
Yeah, well, I loved it too. I remembered it. So now I get to meet one of the innovators that created it. And it's such a good way to look at it. Like, WWDC is for developers.
Yeah.
So why are we not looking at the main tool that developers use from Apple, Xcode? Like, it's so... But you have to have that experience to think of that. You have to have that thinking. Sometimes I'm thinking maybe it's not almost always experience. Sometimes it's just the way you think. But not everyone has that. Not everyone looks at things like that. That's super interesting. Super, super interesting. Now, do we have any interesting stories from WhatsApp? Tell us a bit. So,
Meta.
Meta. Sorry, yeah. For everyone that doesn't know, and I'm sure you know, WhatsApp is owned by Meta, and Meta used to be Facebook, but now it's the metaverse. So how did that shift happen? When did you kind of leave Apple to go to Meta?
I left Apple, did a lot of freelancing because I wanted to, at Apple, you're one of thousands of designers. So it's cool. But I wanted to be like in the product, few people around the table. So I did freelancing. And I answered to an interview to work on the metaverse stuff, and I was like super excited. I never did that, so I was really AR stuff. I was like, okay, that's cool. And I didn't fit for any reason. I wasn't the right guy for them, so cool.
Is this still in London?
Yeah, it's still in London. They have a big team there. They have like massive buildings. And they called me back and they said, hey, we got this job. Like, okay. I was like, okay, let's try it. Let's just give it a try. Fun fact, COVID. I never went to the office. Just the few days before I started, I did one visit and never, ever put another fit.
And then COVID happened.
Yeah. And I said, during the COVID, in somewhere in France, and then I worked for Facebook on Visio, so it was not that fun, and also it was really particular, very different from Apple. Apple is design centric, where Meta is dev centric, because Zuckerberg is a nerd, is really good at coding, etc. So everything is code first, where Apple is design first.
That's interesting because, and you see it kind of in the products too, that Apple really focuses on design more. That's interesting. And so what were you doing there? Like you worked on WhatsApp for a few months or a few years, I guess?
We worked on the Blue app. So the Blue app is the Facebook app. So it's called the Blue app because it's blue. And on WhatsApp and Instagram, based on initially the project, I can't talk about that, but initially the project was really, really, really interesting. It was based on blockchain.
Oh, it was really cool.
Yeah, very cool. And then there was a shift when Apple launched their new privacy system on the App Store, asking developers of any app to show what kind of data was used. So the Blue app, people freaked out, and Mark literally took everybody and said, you have to solve this problem. And you had the feeling that you were sitting on the giant's shoulder. That was Mark Zuckerberg, Tim Cook, and blah, 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 blah. And then we were like, okay.
It's crazy. And because they were publicly kind of insulting each other.
There was some tension, like saying like on Facebook, like, yeah. And you're just like a stupid designer and trying to figure
Well, not stupid, but you're a designer. I get it.
And I hated it, so I left.
Oh, interesting.
I really, really, really didn't like it.
So the culture, was it because maybe of COVID? Is it fair to say that maybe COVID didn't help?
Working for that kind of company is really great if you have the team spirit, if you're in an office sometimes. I mean, like now we do back and forth, but you need a team. You need to see people, especially that kind of tech.
And is it the culture too that attracts us to these companies? Like the culture is there. I see it at Apple. I don't know too much about Meta in terms of inside because they're even more secretive, I find. Funny question for you. Do they call it the green app or the brown app for the other ones? Like
no,
or WhatsApp and IG?
No. It was really the Blue app for.
But that is their baby, right? Or was it more IG at certain point?
What I discovered when designing for the Blue app or for it's not one app. It's hundreds of Blue app because you have hundreds of devices. It's crazy. I had like a spreadsheet of all the OS that were running Facebook.
Crazy.
And sometimes the design system of that stuff was just like they're like literally per device, literally per OS. So if you make a little change, it can affect like hundreds of
each change needs a chain of people, to like an army of people to do all that little one change.
Where at Apple, if you work on the iPhone, there's one iPhone or two iPhone, but that's more like the Xcode compatibility. But there's one design, so it was faster, easier. True. When these guys, they were like, plus you have the Blue app, and then you have IG with so many devices again. and WhatsApp. And you're like, man, how would you do that?
Did you ever work on some of the back end stuff, like the advertising platform, or all of that is super complicated too? I feel like Apple, like you said, it's the iPhone, or now I'd like to say the Vision Pro, but like the OS is the same. The kind of, well, a bit different, but it's same ish, right? Okay, so I'm guessing you preferred Apple. um, Now, we talked about how you got here and your inspiration. So, as a child, you were already designing. Were you drawing, or were you already like somehow on a computer? I don't think so, right? You were drawing.
I'm very bad at drawing.
So, how were you designing? Like when you said Hermes at 7 years old,
No, I was drawing at 7.
it was a drawing.
Kid.
And your mom, I guess, she scanned it. So you have a digital version at this point. I'm sure you do. Um, some success stories that you want to share with us. Like, is there anything that stands out in your career that you're like, that thing? Well, you just told us, I think. You were part of the WWDC new design with the Xcode.
I I would like to how could I rephrase that? I think the future is my success more than the past successes. Does it mean something?
Yeah, it totally does.
I love designing products. I love making products that 10 people use. That's cool because 10 people are happy. So in my family, some friends and stuff, but millions of people or billions of people, it's cool too. But that's not what I'm looking at. It's to relearn like a chef. I love to craft again and again. There was a documentary about Shihiro, the Japanese chef that has, I think it's 3-star Michelin in the tube in Japan. And I watched this guy, he's 90 years old or something like that. And he's still doing sushi. But he said that my only aspiration in life is to make the best sushi. So it's not the past, it's all the craft. He has done that thousands and millions of times. But is the day you serve the sushi, they are delicious.
Yes.
And I'm trying to stay a craftsman or an artisan in French, where you do that again and again and again, because you never know. So now I think my passion is the Vision Pro, because there's something new I never touch is this new paradigm, the eye and the pinch. There's no more touch, there's no more mouse. This is like, it freaked me out. The first time I tested it in September last year, I was like, what the heck? What is this thing? So you look at something and you pinch, and even the pinch is not like minority report. No, don't raise your hand. Like you could have laser, even a little bit behind. Have you tested?
Yes.
They're a little bit behind.
Well, it just doesn't work
No.
back here.
True. But how do you design with this new experience? That is, the mouse is your eye. Oh, and then you're trying to figure out, okay, so if you have a lot of items or a lot of icons, it looks like Christmas tree. So, whoa, hang on. I can't put too many icons on the screen because of the eye is so fast.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah. Overwhelming. That is super interesting. The second thing that is super interesting, and nobody talks about that, is in French we say électronisme. So I think in English is the lack of knowledge to use a computer. So you're a young person, you could be like under your 25 and you don't know how to use a computer. When I say how to use a computer is Excel or whatever, even like proper work. With the Vision Pro, apparently there's some studies that says it raises the learning curve, the way to learn the how to use a computer, because it's a spatial computer.
Spatial, yeah. Visual, you could touch it.
Because the eye, everybody does that.
Yes.
Even the blind people have done some stuff, tested, and it works on the Vision Pro. What the heck? What? A blind person can use the Vision Pro? And there's a video, I think, on...
Yeah, because it tracks your eyes, right? So even if you have to see a little bit, so most blind people kind of see a little bit, right? That's enough for now to enhance everything.
So you have a new design paradigm, the eye plus the pinch. You have a learning curve that is like super fast.
And easier and better.
And easier and better. And now you have probably an autoroute, a highway for accessibility. And you have a spatial computing. Nobody understands that. I mean, really, I think we're at the beginning of it. Okay, Quest, Oculus, blah, 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 perhaps. But the majority of the users, the people who use an iPhone or a Mac, they don't know about that. They don't know spatial.
So we've been doing VR for so long, and I could tell you that in February, it was a moment. It was a real moment. And a lot of people compared it like, hey, it's an iPhone moment. But then you saw the whole analysis, and I'm sure you agree. We could all agree. We didn't have to say it. Like, I'm not the guy that yells all the time on LinkedIn, no, it's this, it's that. Well, now I'm starting with the podcast, but I'm going to be doing it. But it's a Mac moment, right? You've read this. So if we were to compare, is it an iPhone moment or is it a Mac moment? Do you think that this is the new laptop, the new computer, or is it the new phone? Or is it both?
Obviously, you can't put, if you're a woman, and we have noticed that women have a tendency to take their smartphone and put it in the back. Yeah. And us, we put it in the front. So good luck to put that in your pocket. Whatever is the Vision Pro 18 or whatever, I don't think so. What I think is it's a computer first, and that's a very good computer because it's M2 and it's super fast.
R1 too. Like this thing is a super computer.
So it's a computer. Now you can work on it. With Vision OS 2, now you can have a keyboard, so that's cool. But I worked in the plane coming from France to Canada. I worked with it. I was working literally. I was doing some stuff because I didn't want to open my Mac.
Yeah, and it takes space. Yeah. Now all you have is this, and you can. Yeah, it's so nice.
And also you have plus the Mac. It's the double effect. For me, it's absolutely brilliant because you have the display, you have the power of the Mac to do Xcode or AI stuff or that, plus the visualization on Spatial. And you have like multi-screens around you. So now I'm working with like 4 screens, one from my Mac, Xcode, press the button, I see the app instantly in Vision Pro, in real, and you're like, okay, cool.
Like, wow.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
We couldn't do that before, right? We had to, we could, but we would connect our iPhone to the Mac and then build in Xcode and then look at the phone, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But now I could see my actual app in the device right there. It's pretty insane. So I agree with you, and I think that it was a Mac moment. So we were there when Oculus, the first one, came out, the one with the wires. Well, literally on Kickstarter. Like, I saw it on Kickstarter. I should have, you could have bought some shares back then. I didn't. I was like, And he was showing 2 iPhones. He had, like, his demo was, he's like, why can't we put 2 iPhones?
Yeah.
And then Samsung was like, no, just one. Or Google. And I can tell you, I assure to you that last year was a moment for spatial AR, VR, whatever we want to call it, because everybody calls it something different. But Apple calls it spatial. We agree, spatial. It's your space. It's a computer that you could place everywhere. So you'll tell us. I'm sure you're working on some really cool projects with the Vision Pro. Now, my question was to you, like, how much tech do you use to actually create, right? So And it's another question at the same time, like, what about AR, VR, AI, right? How does it influence you when you're creating or designing a product? Like, has it ever happened to you to, let's say, create a 3D model of a product, then put it in the VR and look at what the product looks like visually, try to play with it? Do you use some of these tools to create designs?
So I think it's gonna be very deceptive for you, but I'm very new in this AR, VR, XR stuff. I went to an event in France. There was like hundreds of booths and with VR stuff, and I don't speak this language. I didn't made that war. Okay, I'm not a veteran of that, not at all. I'm naive, and I don't think my brain works in VR or whatever. My brain works on what is the ultimate way to make people feel something. It could be 2D, it could be 3D, it could be sound, it could be environment. So we're working on a beautiful project at the moment. Can't talk about it because it's not official, but we're working on the environment, and there's a scene in the middle, and this is it. This is just like, it's super simple, but the emotion that you're gonna have in this sphere is gonna be probably really cool, especially if you're a fan of that movie.
Oh, yes. I love it. I can't wait to see it. But we were talking about it before at the capture studio. You said, my expertise is to bring that emotion, and then you mentioned emotions create memories, and memories create moments. And I said yes, and all of that means engagement. So super, like, we're on the same page. And I feel like you have to kind of step back, because tech is not always good, right? Our CTO always says, why are you using this? If it's an overkill, or if it has no usage for the user, if it doesn't bring the emotion, why are you doing it? Because we've seen the contrary. It could actually remove emotion. Like, I hate this thing.
Yes.
Why are you doing this? I don't like it. Now all of a sudden we're in the negative with the engagement and the emotion. So it's a fine line to play all the time. Understand the user, the UI. Obviously, that's the UI part, but the UX is so important. And like you said, simplifying.
So don't use, I don't use UX or UI. I definitely want to use experience, because it's a beautiful word, and experience. An experience is built on a purpose. I'm not here to sell a product or to help you to adapt that. My job is to create an emotion, a good emotion, of course.
Yeah, we want good emotions.
You don't want to just the dark.
Well, it depends. If it's a horror movie, maybe.
Yeah, but that's a good emotion. It's for the
entertaining.
Yeah, entertaining. So that's cool. What I really want is, if we craft all together, the developers, the product people, the us, we craft an experience that people remember because they had an emotion. Job's done. Okay, then you have the markets or whatever, and then you sell the product. Yeah, that's, you need to live. Okay, you need to earn money. So that's good. But for me at the moment, what I'm looking at is, if, as you said, if this emotion has one little part that is not a good emotion, like in the Vision Pro, to be honest, typing is not yet great. We have the keyboard, the new keyboard, etc. But typing is not something you want to do in Spatial. So I was thinking, what if we just talk? So there's the mic, you type on the mic, and then it feeds the stuff. But I was thinking, I want to create something with a feedback, because it's me talking, so it's stupid. I want a voice to answer me, like Siri, when you ask Siri. So I built up just a prototype where I can chat with a synthetic avatar that has a cool voice, because I can craft the voice and I can craft the synthetic face. And suddenly, it's not anymore that I like the new theory, but it's not anymore that kind of digital sphere moving. No, it's a kind of human. I done something that was really cool. Someone said, if you want to sell a can of Coke, you can make a beautiful picture of the can of Coke. If you put a hand around the can of Coke, you're going to sell 10 or 30% more can of Coke. If you put a face, you sell more. Even an emoji, you sell more. And remember the WWDC this year? There was a lot of things about the news theory. And it was not like a standalone device. It was a hand holding the device. Because what we're doing is we're talking about a machine. We're talking to a machine, sorry. Yeah. But it's a human who's picking or interacting. So you put a hand, boom. So every time
the connection is even more.
Because we're so
like simple things like this, but this is lots of thinking that went behind, okay, let's add the hand.
Because you know how to design for billions of people. So yes, so you help the human to feel like, oh, you're talking to
I'm
me.
part of it, right? So include them in the story. So storytelling is very, very important, right? And part of how you bring that emotion. But your job or your role is really, how do I put that in the product, maybe without saying the story, right? How is that happen to you? Like, am I supposed to look at, like, let's say the Vision Pro and understand the story of Vision Pro by looking at it? Or is it also everything that goes with it? So the copy, the packaging, I think it's all of it, right?
Maybe. But when I think what is the most beautiful things I've seen, it's not the form factor. It's beautiful. Like some people like it. It's whatever. Is the OS, and they earn a Blackmagic award for the design of the OS. And the OS is, the first time you put the Vision Pro, there's this Apple logo and it's passed through and you're like, whoa, that's really cool. And then you have the hello coming in multiple languages and you're like, wow, that is cool. That is, boom, done, you're hooked.
Yeah,
because it's beautiful.
And then it's intuitive, and it's very, very intuitive. Compared to, nothing against Meta, Mark Zuckerberg will never say no to any type of check you might send, but it's not as intuitive, I'd say. And it shows that it's a dev company versus a design company. When the UI, the UX, everything. And coming back to the word you were saying, experience, I really like that word. So when we pitch what we do, we never say VR, AR, AI. We say experience. We create experiences. And then we like to be smart sometimes. We create immersive experiences. Then they say, well, what do you mean immersive? I'm like, immersion. It's all you need to know. What do you think of experiential activations? Like, let's say you go to an event and there's an experience, right? This too brings an emotion, right? Now, how much of that have you done? Is your experience more just on products, but or also locations? Can you, like, your experience, can you bring it to a location? Let's say, I'll give an example. So, you worked on a product which is a software, and what does the UI and UX look like? How do they click? All of these different things, and I'm dumbifying it. Can you do the same thing at an event, at a physical place?
Of course, because what is it's a way of thinking. Okay, you're invited into a room. So that's for the people who watch this or listen. Okay, you're a speaker. Come to the room probably 2 hours before your talk. Okay, and test your slides into the room. You control the room. You're the speaker. So if there's lights or windows and it's daylight, ask to have like a darker room or switch off some lights. You're the compositor, the orchestra guy, and then you own the room, you design the room, so you feel more confident. You're spatial. You're like all around you. And I think it's everything like that. It's how do you take the time to look at the space and where you're gonna act and revisit what you're gonna do, and it works. I'm not like super good at designing events or booth or the stuff like that. I never did that.
Well, it's a different thinking, but it's kind of the same, but different. Why I asked you this question is because the podcast is called Unified Reality. So we always try to do the bridge between digital and physical. And we want to make them both together better. So IRL plus URL equals a better UR.
Yeah.
And UR is for a unified reality. So
That's beautiful.
I really believe that you would be able to do it. You just haven't done it. But the thinking, I think now they've crossed the physical and the digital. We could kind of go back and forth. And I think the future is like that, really that part. So how much importance do you think there should be? Like a brand like Apple, I haven't seen them do lots of big events, right? I mean, apart from their own events, WWDC for sure. But I mean, if you go to CES, oh, it's true, they're at CES, sorry, or even NAB. How important is that for the brand? Like, have you ever been part of those meetings where they're like, hey, we're going to CES, we need to stunt and do this thing?
No, that's the I went to that kind of stuff, like event like that, and you want to see these guys. You want to see something like show off, you know.
Yeah.
And you have the Meta stand, like it's big, it's like super flashy. That are Meta, it's white and blue, and like okay. And you see the others. You never see Apple. They never go there. Why? Because they are not in control of the whole experience, not their boost or their stunt, the whole experience. They don't want to be part of that because
I get it. It's such a design way of looking at things, right?
But people will do that for them in their way. So they let the creators or the XR people doing that. I went to an event and there was one Vision Pro. And I asked, oh, what do you do on the Vision Pro? Oh, we do nothing because we're not ready. Basically, we played the demo from the headset. Okay, cool. But there was Meta. There was whoever, you know, like the
HTC.
Right. I don't know the name.
But I agree with you that I think controlling that controls your image and it controls everything, right? Because everything is branding and image.
But your demo, the one you showed me like a few minutes ago, I think you nailed it in the fact that it's humanized. It's not like it's not like Midjourney. It's not something that I don't believe in that kind of product because everybody can do it, but there's no soul.
Yeah, there's no soul. There's no.
No, it's not fun. I mean, like it's
AI.
It's not human.
Yeah,
we like imperfect things or ugly people, or they are all beautiful. And it's like, no, life is like the humans are not all like that beautiful. The ugly people are beautiful people too.
Yes. So there's more of them, anyways. So I put myself in there too, you know, I don't mind.
If you 3D scan someone, it's beautiful because it's real.
It's real.
Now you scan it and you can animate it. Okay, cool. That's nice because I don't have the money to pay an actor to doing that live every day. Okay, that's cool.
We'll do it for you. Yeah, so a lot of CEOs are asking us, hey, can I do my speech like this for my employees, you know, for next year's general meeting? I'm like, of course, like, oh, I'm going to have my hologram. I'm like, yeah, of course, no problem. Soon you'll see us in hologram too, both of us. And we won't be accessible anymore, only with holograms. It's really, it's a good convo, and I love talking to you, man. We could go on and on and on, but I want you to tell us a bit more about like your entrepreneurship side.
Yeah.
So, because now I know you have a good journey, but you're starting a new one, right?
Yes.
So, tell us a bit about like what inspired you to like start your own company, to say, you know what? Well, you already had your company. I think you shifted towards Apple and then Meta, and now you're back to your own company. Tell us a bit about that decision, right? How did you go work for Apple? Why? Was it because you said that the companies, it's hard, right? It's hard to have a company. And I think there was a lot of competition. And I think Paris is really competitive as well. It's a bit easier, like let's say in Canada.
Okay.
Not because we have less or more people, but because I think we're not as competitive, especially Canada. I could tell you that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, tell us, like, how did it happen now? Like, why did you start a new company?
So we were the first people on the Vision Pro in France to. We were probably 5, 10 maximum.
You're talking about developers that have the Vision Pro.
Like access to the Vision Pro and then starting doing some stuff. We had like we basically we started to do freelance work for big companies, and they wanted to try something on the Vision Pro. We had no documentation, no headset. It was like Wild West. Like how do you build anything on that? And then we went to a lot of labs, Apple labs. We were lucky enough to go there. Usually at that time, there was like probably 1 or 2 times you could go there. We went to 7 labs. Because what we were doing is like basically we were hacking a lot of things. We tried to break it just to see how it did respond. Can you do voice controls on objects, or can you do 360 videos? And we discovered that there was some client in France, especially because we were figuring out, okay, they're going to launch an app store probably in the US, probably next year. So let's do some stuff. And we did like a beautiful app on the app store called Swan Dive for a client. And it was really interesting. And then I said to my buddy, who was a developer, let's build a company. It's going to be a design studio. Okay. And we do that all the day. But even that is, and you build a company. So welcome to the stress of having clients to pay everybody. And then you're like, the stress goes up, and then you're good at that, or you're not good, or you're not ready to that. So my buddy decided after 2 months, and I was in peace with that. It's okay. So that he said to me, that's too much stress. I go back to freelance. I was like, okay, man, that's fair.
It's respectful.
Yeah.
You're honest, you know?
And that's at the very, very, very beginning of the...
If it was like 5 years, then it would have been different.
What?
2 months it's okay.
So you're alone in the dark, and you don't have anymore your super developer, and like, fuck. 2 minutes, I was like, wow. But developers are beautiful people, and there's a lot who wanted to work on that. So I found a team, rebuild a team, and then I don't want to do that again. I don't want to do a design studio. I was 21 when I did that. No, I don't want to come back like that. I want to create a product that help people to make Vision Pro apps. So
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's
so a creator tool. Mostly.
Yes, a creator tool. So I built AI. Just like for the joke, I would love to name it incal.com, but the .com was an AI in France. If you have .ai, you may have more subsidies and a little bit more attention. So it's
I think here too, all of us. We have geniusxr.ai too. It's like all of us.
Yeah, and you're like, well, I'm not deep tech. I just embed some.
Well, you're part of one of the expertise that we always need in tech, right? Because we always need people that, could design the products.
Yeah, true. And that's in Cal. So
would you say that in Cal, what's one of the biggest challenges, in general, from when you were 21, for having an a company, a startup, entrepreneurship, and now, what is the challenge like that comes back for you, except for money, right? Because we all have that challenge. What is the biggest challenge? Is it knowing who you are, having the right partners, culture, finding the product or the team? What is one of the biggest challenges for you?
at the moment, the biggest one is you do everything. You're the one man.
I would say you're the only. I'm switching to French English, but you're the janitor and the CEO.
Right, you have to do everything. You have a lovely people like you work with, but marketing is on your side. Finance is like account.
Now you're an accountant.
Right. And then and everything. And some people ask you, oh, you need to post on LinkedIn. You're like, I'm not.
Are you
LinkedIn.
serious?
Yeah.
Like, how do you have time to post on LinkedIn? I'm working here.
Yeah, I'm willing.
You know, you were talking about the imposters, right? The imposter syndrome, but most of the real imposters don't have this syndrome because we know what we know. And we know that, the more you know that you don't know nothing.
Sure.
But the imposters, they think they know everything. So if I open my LinkedIn right now, I could, the top feeds are the imposters. Like literally, oh, what is quantum computer? I'm like, do you know what it is? What did you do? Oh, you went on ChatGPT, you created a picture, you created, like nobody cares. Soon you're going to be like a nobody because there's a kid that's going to make a chatbot that's going to have that in there. You just ask, what is quantum? Tells you everything. Yeah. Why do I need a guy that thinks that he has a better job than all of us at some company telling us what to do? Anyways, that was a side note.
So to come back to the challenge is trying to do the right things. You make a lot of mistakes. So it sounds like very generic what I'm saying, but I'm living that every day. You wake up in the morning, you have a lot of tasks. You need to nurture your relationship with the developer and the product. The product for me is part of the family. It's someone.
That's a good way of seeing it.
Yeah, like okay.
So it's part
of the
like my brother, my sister, so now I have to treat them properly.
Yeah, well, you don't end.
That's a good way.
And then you know that you're I'm passionate about the problem I'm solving. I know that the feedback are great. So I don't have the market fit because it's too young. I don't have that much budget, but that's because it's too young. No worries. But I know that the people who tested it or like who understand it say, "Wow, yeah, you're solving a massive problem." Now on the higher scale, there's only 500K Vision Pro at the moment, so it's a niche in the niche. I don't really like VR, XR, etc. Plus Vision Pro on the Apple. So the challenge is it going to work? Are they going to sell a lot, or is it going like the Quest stuff? And everybody said that there was like as you said like previously. We're going to have billions of that. And no.
I had employees that would say this.
Yeah.
I think the date was 2022. Like by 2022, half of the population will have headset. And he said this in the meetings with a client. I said after, like I didn't do it in front of the client. I said, please don't say this again because they might test us, and I don't think this is going to happen. But anyways,
yeah,
that's another thing. Thanks a lot for all your insights, man. It's very, very worth it for us to understand where you come from, how you think. Is there any advice that you want to give young entrepreneurs that might want to become product designers that might either work or have their own company? What would be the first steps to become a product designer?
Jump into the pool. Definitely. Don't go to bootcamp and don't spend like a fortune trying to learn what is design. Try to make a product, show it to your friends, family, get some feedback, try to drop it on whatever it is, like the indie dev community, always very warm and welcoming new designer, new coder. Try to do just something that I think there's a room for people who like to solve problems in a way that it could be for 10 people. Start small. Don't start small. Yeah, I mean, who think you're going to be the next unicorn. It's stupid. Don't waste your time. Just do that for 10 people or around, or your neighborhood or your little community. We got a designer, I forgot her name, Maggie Mapleton, I think she said like the barefoot developer, so the barefoot designer. In China, like many years ago, there was a lack of doctors in the countryside. So they train local people and they were working in the village around a certain area. So they were the barefoot doctors. And that's, I think, the same for designers or coders or whatever. Like, just do that for your community. But practice, because you're going to have like a lot of love and feedback free. Don't go like, don't try to be a unicorn. Second things, if you want to be an entrepreneur, I would recommend to at least get a job, side project. Your side project is your next story, and one day, it sticks on the wall, and like, okay, I can quit my job. That's the good way. I failed so many times. My wife hates my side projects. She always said that, oh, no, you're not starting a new one. I think I have like something like
Johan, please, no.
But every time is so fun because you learn something. So and
it's always about learning. I love to learn.
I think it's cool because you learn. I met a lovely lady, young person yesterday, and she said, "I'm so scared to be an entrepreneur. Like, I'm so scared to be an employee."
Oh, yes.
I mean, seriously,
I'm really scared of that.
Because if your manager sucks, you're fucked.
The whole thing, right?
And we say that.
Yeah. Like, it's so true what you're saying. Like, and then you can't change managers. I've never worked for a company, but I have friends like, man, they assigned me. Anyways, that's a whole other story.
Or you work for a little startup like you guys, and you respect each other, and that's family.
It's family. It's family business. I've thrown for family business. Johan, it was excellent to have you on the show. We will have you back again. Maybe this time you'll be in Montreal, not in Shawinigan, but you're definitely welcome here. The studio is like your home, and we'll be showing the 3D stuff. Everyone, thank you. Thank you, Johan.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.